process of starting seeds during the beginning of a gardening season can sometimes be overwhelming, especially if you're a new gardener. In this video, I want to show you my process of starting seeds for this season and some tips and tricks to help you along the way. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and start getting our potting mix ready and potting it into our potting containers. So I want to start off with my seed starting mix. What I'm using is the Jiffy Natural and Organic Seed Starting Mix. And I've mentioned in a previous video on why it's important to have a good quality seed starting mix instead of your average potting soil, because you want something that's sterile and won't interfere with the growth of your seed and their germination. So that's why we're using that. So I'm gonna go ahead and open up this bag in a way that will be resealed, just in case I don't use all of it today. And I have a container here that can hold it, so I can go ahead and moisten up the seed starting mix, so then it's pre-moistened, it's easier for the water to integrate with it. So, and it'll be easier to pot and reduce the mess that I'm making. I'll start with half the bag for now. So here it is. You can see it's not too dry. It could be a lot drier, but when I squeeze it, it kind of crumbles. So I want to get it moist enough where it kind of holds its form, but then still crumbles when I agitate it a little bit. So we'll go ahead and do that. And for this mixture, you can see on the bag, it does say that it contains peat moss, coco coir, and vermiculite. The vermiculite is really important in helping with the drainage of the water and retention of the water. So it balances moisture in this mix. And this is very light, fluffy. There are no big, huge chunks in it, so it's really nice. There are a few sticks in here, but if you look closely at it, it's a mixture of fine materials and some larger ones, because the change in texture allows the roots to move through that mix a lot easier. So what I have here is a cup of water I'm going to use to pre-moisten the soil. I've let this water sit overnight, and I've read online that if you're using city tap water, there's a good chance that you might have chlorine in it. So when you let it sit, it allows some of that chlorine to kind of evaporate. Sorry, I had to close the door really quick because I had planes flying overhead. So just giving it some water. You can use gloves, so you don't get your hands too dirty. I'm just gonna mix it around. And kind of go accordingly. I'm just doing a little at a time so I don't oversaturate this mix. And then give it a test. It's almost there, right? See, it's kind of holding its form. I probably added a little bit more water. Only because I want to make sure that it's firmly inside the seed starting trays when I place them in there. So just a little bit more water. For the most part, it's the entire cup that I have here, 16-ounce cup, for about half that bag. And I can feel there's some there's a little weight to this mix, so we're pretty much there. Make sure the water is well incorporated. And if I squeeze it, it's like you can hear it's like a sponge. It's keeping its form, but then if I agitate it, it falls apart. So that's really good, actually. And that's where we want to be. Okay, so with our soil mix poured in this tray, and I've added my water to add some moisture to it, then I want to start preparing my seed starting tray. So in a previous video, I showed the materials I'm using. I have a seed starting tray here, and there's a water reservoir holder underneath, and then I have some large hole seed starting trays. These are 6 cell ones, so I can remove six cells at a time. I got this from the Epic Gardener channel, and this is our basic greenhouse tray with the cover, humidity dome from Jiffy. Definitely not sponsoring anyone in particular, but I'm just sharing what I have. So what I'd do is I would take one of these modules, I'd place it in this tray. This is why I have this big container. I'd scoop some up, just dump it all over top until it overflows, and then wipe it off the top. Maybe shake it a little bit so it goes deep inside, like that. And then because I want this to be very compact, so when I do remove them in the future, they all come out as one unit. And this is another reason why I like these particular trays, because the hole is larger for me to be able to push out a seedling. I want to put some pressure, so apply some pressure to each cell. And then go ahead and top it up again. And that should be ready to go. So then what I can do afterwards is make some indentations, and the indentations where I'm gonna place the seeds are going to be roughly 2 times the size of the seed. So if you have a seed that's like this big, you want to double that size, and that's how deep you want to plant it. Whereas if you have a little tiny very light seeds, like maybe an onion seed, it shouldn't go too far in. It might be just very shallow, and then you just pick up some soil and just sprinkle it over just to cover it, keep the seed dark. But that's how that would be, and then I just put it back in the tray. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this for all of them, because I'm gonna plant out the entire seed tray, and then we'll go from there. All right, so I've filled my seed tray with the seed starting mix, so it's fully ready. So set this right here. And now I have to plan what seeds I want to actually plant in these cells. Luckily, what I like to do is, instead of using seed markers, I like to electronically place mine. So I have a few options here. So if I look over to my computer, you can see that I have a few things going on. Last year, when I was planning out my seed starts, I actually had a layout that is 6 by 12. So you could see in this first corner right here, that was the first set of seeds I had planted, followed by the next tray, and then the next tray after that. Because of the timing that I'm planting this season, because I'm trying to switch things up, what I'm doing is I'm essentially looking at everything, narrowing out what I actually want to plant out this year and condensing it to this first seed tray. I'm still planting out 3 seed starting trays, but I have to modify it a little bit to take out some things I don't necessarily want to plant this season, as well as just for the time that I have left. So my average last frost date is still about 6 to 7 weeks away. So I'm planning accordingly to see what I can start indoors ahead of time, so that when it's time for them to be planted outside, I have pretty semi-mature plants or good sized plants to plant out that are going to be resilient and ready to go at that point. So these are my 3. What I ended up doing was opening a new document, and now because I have 6 cells right here where I can group them, I color coded them so it's easier for me to tell. Another way that I can tell is that at the bottom of my seed trays, I have a barcode, and that will indicate that that's the bottom of the tray and how I should read these. So the way that I have it is that these top 6 seeds that I will be starting will be on the top 6 right here. So then they'll be grouped together. When they're ready and it's time for them to be planted outside, I'll just pick up that block of 6 and then go ahead and do what I need to do without disrupting anything else in the seed starting tray. In the past, I had just one huge plastic 72 cell tray that I had to work with. So I was lining them up horizontally. So I'm changing it this season, color coding it so it's easier to just pop out and see. And I'm kind of grouping them based on seeds that are similar. So on the top corner, and I'll have a zoomed in picture hopefully popping up about now of ground cherries. I have some flowers and cilantros grouped together just because they'll be coming to be ready around the same time. I have my eggplants grouped together. I have my peppers grouped together, things like that. Okay, so for this particular layout, I can zoom in. And this is especially useful because I can keep track of what I want to plant or what I did plant from season to season. And if I need a physical copy, I can always print it out. I like keeping mine digital. It's easier to keep track of and store for historical reference for myself. I can email it and move from device to device to kind of keep in mind, if I need to buy more seeds, what did I plant last season and what I might be running out of. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with the planting. Okay, so in the first top 6, I'll be planting my Aunt Molly's ground cherries. So these are very tiny seeds. And what I'll do is I'll drop some in my hand first. And what I want to aim for is to have about 2 per cell. I like to put 2 just in case one doesn't germinate, then I have a backup. So let me move that there. And I'm gonna put it on this top corner just like I have referenced in this document. Put one in that spot. And these are very tiny seeds, so they don't need to go as deep. I think I mentioned that you just need the seeds to be twice their diameter. So this is very close to surface level. Any deeper, the seedlings might have some issues making their way through the soil. So surface level, and what I'll do is I'll just fluff the top a little bit to get them covered. Or if I had excess soil, I can just sprinkle it over top. That's an easier way to do it without messing up. All right. So I need about 5 more. Anything extra, I'll just put it in there too. And then I'll thin it out later. If more than one grows, then I'll just cut off the top, or I can just split up the roots and separate them out. I have one extra here, I'll just place it there somewhere. And then I'll just kind of move the top around just to get them a little covered into the soil. Okay, so that's the first one planted out. Next I have on the top corner, I have cilantro for the first 3, and then chamomile for the bottom 3. Okay, so I have my cilantro seeds right here and my chamomile leaves. This variety is Latte Lime. So I'll start with the cilantro. And cilantro is also known as coriander. They more commonly, you could be used as a seasoning. You just ground up the seeds. So I'll put 2 in this as well. And generally what I usually do is put 2 seeds in each tray. And like I said, almost twice the diameter, deep. And then just cover it over. Okay, so that's that planted out. Now we have the chamomile. Now these seeds are really tiny. So what we want to do is make it almost surface level. So what I'll do is I'll brush some soil off to the side that I can place over top the seeds after I've put them down. I'll open it up and just gently sprinkle these very loosely. When these grow, they'll grow in a mat of leaves. Kind of like it'll be like a little mini carpet of leaves. And I just plant them as a group into the ground, and they've been fine. So I'll just kind of brush my excess soil on the sides over top of them, and that's it for the chamomile. And I'm just gonna keep repeating the steps. I'll just go through each category of seed groups that I have and then just plant them. Usually 2 seeds per cell, and once I'm done, I'll come back. All right, so we have sown all of our seeds into the seed tray. So next we need to make sure that we have enough water supplied to all of the seedlings. So because these are in another tray that can hold water, what I typically do is either inch the side off a little bit so I can, water this down, or just remove one of these and water the bottom. So what I can do is I can lift one of these up to expose the bottom, and then just fill the water underneath. So I'm bottom watering. So what this does is it allows the water to wick up onto each cell, so then I don't have moisture just sitting on top of these trays that can attract flies or cause it to start going green. So I just add enough water to the bottom, about ½ inch. I think that's the remainder of this. And then I just place this one back. And then I'll check maybe ½ an hour from now to see if there's still water in there. Hopefully most of it has been absorbed by the soil medium, but if there's still water, then I can kind of drain it or just let it be. But once I do that, I'll take my humidity dome and then just place it on top so that it can help retain the moisture while the seeds are trying to germinate. And the last step after you make sure that your seeds are watered is to make sure that you place it in the spot that it will be for the time that it's going to start germinating and growing out. So I have my table here with my grow lights. I have a few grow lights just set up for future trays that I'll be starting, and they're sitting here. And earlier I had most of my pepper seedlings and eggplant seedlings in the bottom half of this tray. And the reason I did that is because I'm laying my seed starting tray on a heat mat that I'm trying out for the first time this year. And I'm using half of this mat to germinate some seedlings in using the paper baggie method. So I have them in this warm environment here. But the other half is going to be used for my direct sowing into my seed starting trays. So I'll have it here. The light will be on here just to help promote the moisture to evaporate to the top of the dome. And then for the remainder of the time, after one day, I'll just keep the lights off until I see some signs of germination. And then at that point, I want to start leaving my lights on for roughly 12 to 14 hours each day. And I have my lights plugged into a smart plug that's on a timer that I use with my smart devices, so that I can regulate the timing to make sure that it's on at a certain time and it shuts off by a certain time. So it helps with some energy consumption, and also it ensures that I'm keeping this regularly lit when it's very necessary in this early phase. And that's about it. A heat mat, definitely not as recommended, just because my environment is much colder than I'd like it to be. I need the supplement of that heat mat. But if you live in a room temperature environment above 70 degrees, you should generally be fine. It might take a long time to germinate your pepper seeds, but they will germinate eventually. And that's about it. So hopefully you found this video helpful and useful, and I would really appreciate it if you gave this video a like and come back for more information in the future. Thanks. Have a great day.